Veifua, ball floated over the top. Mata Ellis snuffs it out. Off she goes. Try time for Parramatta.
Well, they certainly don't look like they're got any plans in place for next season. Not talking just about the coach, but their roster. It looks like a complete mess. Welcome to the show and go all thanks to Code Sports, and we are back for more with just one round to go in this NRLW Premiership race. Pam Whaley, great to see you.
Great to see you, Lara.
We
are
have
excited.
I am excited because we've only got one spot left in the top six after round 10 in the competition.
Yeah, so what do we need? We need the Titans to beat the Raiders. They will make the top six. If they lose to the Raiders, the Eels need to beat the Bulldogs and they're in the top six. So it comes down to a pretty tight race at the end.
At the moment, we know Roosters, Broncos top of the pops, but Cowboys probably the most impressive team of the weekend. They're back in third spot on the ladder. The Sharks will be disappointed with their outing, but we know they're playing finals football no matter what. Big win for Newcastle on the weekend. Huge performance to get that result right at the death against the Titans.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so we've got that final kind of standings where everyone lands, that comes down to this week as well. So to see who gets the home final in 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time. Yeah. The Titans all to play for against the Raiders, and that's not going to be an easy game because the Raiders have been playing well at the back end of the year and a pretty big first instalment of the grudge match between the Eels and the Bulldogs, which will be important for must win for Para if they want to play finals. All right, as we gear up for finals, we know that the West Tigers are looking at the wooden spoon and they're also on the hunt for a head coach. Big news after we recorded last week that Brett Kimmorley will not be there from next season.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone really expected, I don't know whether people expected him to carry on after the end of this season. It has been 3 years there. They've had a rough couple of seasons there. But that was kind of a bit of a shock news to come ahead of round 9 or round 10. So they are on the hunt now for a head coach. I think him putting in his notice now gives them time to be able to find somebody. But as we've seen today, that is now advertised.
They've advertised it for an NRLW head coach online. On a sports HR, like a
sports people. So
sports
it's a common employment website for jobs in sport. But you don't often see the coaching positions up there. I think they just are not. From everything they've said to me, they are casting the net wide open.
It would seem so.
It would seem so.
We could apply.
Yeah. Well, why not?
We've got till September 18.
So why not?
Well, I just want to go back one step to Brett Kimmorley because we were a bit, I guess, in a way shocked because if there was noise around, like clearly they've not done well in their first 3 seasons, but it feels like it's happened now and now they've just left themselves completely exposed, having they certainly don't look like they're got any plans in place for next season. Not talking just about the coach, but their roster. It looks like a complete mess. Yeah. There's so many players in that squad and I'm talking like 17, I think, off contract.
Yeah.
So now you're trying to recruit or potentially retain and you don't know who your head coach is. So how on earth do they even make plans for next year?
That's it. That's what makes it really difficult to know where they go from here or how they even rebuild because they, as we said, 17 players off contract for next season. So that's more than half of the squad. That's a really good chunk of a squad. So if they're starting with, say, 8 players signed for 2026 and they don't have a head coach yet, most players you would find re-signed for next year and the year after. You're really starting at zero. How do you attract players to your club when they don't know who the coach is going to be?
Yeah, how do you attract players to a club as well when you've won? Well, you haven't won. You've won wooden spoons and you've not performed. Other than we know and we hear that it's a great culture of young and upcoming talent, all those things. But they need leaders. They don't need any more young stars. They need the top level players. And the facts are they're not off contract.
Well, we speak about it all the time. I know we hammer the Roosters and the Broncos for having all of this talent, but we hear from the players that the reason that they want to stay at those clubs is because they can play with their friends. The difference in contracts is not that much. So There's no marquee system anymore. So the difference between accepting $10,000 less at the Roosters to accepting $10,000 more at the Tigers is literally just that. And then they also want to win. They just want to play footy and have fun while they can.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why clubs like the Roosters and the Broncos do have all of those stars and manage to keep them, because there's not that much attraction to go elsewhere. I mean, unless you're finding players who, out of the goodness of their heart, just decide at the end of their career, or even at the prime of their career in their mid-20s, to go, you know what, I really want to go and be the superstar at this club and help drag them from the bottom. It'd be a really noble thing to do, but it would take a really rare personality to do that.
But that's why
think anyone wants to do that.
That's why you have to employ a really big draw card in a coach.
Yeah.
And that exposes a problem that there is in the women's game at the moment, is that there aren't a lot of those high caliber applicants at the moment who would attract necessarily the big fish.
Yeah. I mean, there's some really good, as we know, there's some really good assistants out there. Like we talk about like Kate Mullally, who's been assistant at the Gillaroos, and she's assistant at the Eels as well. She has head coaching. She wants to be a coach, who has really good relationships in the game. There are people like that who have good connections and good relationships with a lot of big players, but
well, let's just but face it, it's a building club, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's the thing. The Tigers have now put themselves in this position, so they're going to have to back a young coach in all likelihood, and then really back them and give them time to build the club. And it's okay for that, because it's a new competition, this women's space. We're trying to foster players but also coaches, all those things. But that's how it's looking, and I think the quicker they can get it done, like September 18 is when job applications apparently close online.
Yeah.
But again, that's when you can be already making really big plans and strides for next year.
Yeah, like it just kind of goes to show, Noddy leaving now, it just goes to show there was not much of a future plan in place beyond what was already happening there. But the last thing you would want to see is them just whacking any old coach in there as just, you know, you'll do for the time being. I really hope that doesn't happen, because they really need to be building. If it is a young coach who is experienced and passionate about the women's game and knows players and, you know, wants to be involved in the NRLW, not use it as a stepping stone into something else, that would be perfect.
All right, question without notice, who would you like to see?
I would like to see Kate Mullally. I think she'd be great.
Okay.
I don't know how many other... I mean, when the Bulldogs job was up, they had 90 applicants. So, and they, as far as my knowledge goes, didn't advertise publicly like this either. So they had 90 expressions of interest in that job. They were absolutely inundated. So there are a lot of people out there interested in coaching NRLW. Whether or not they're up to that standard that we should expect, that remains to be seen.
The other one that's been thrown around to me is Alicia Kate Hawke, who's an assistant at Newcastle Knights and who's been around sort of the Gillaroos setup before. You know, these are people that have been working in the women's space, and they know the athletes to start with.
Yeah.
And I think that's more important to me and to players than perhaps seeing someone come across from a men's program who could be using it as a stepping stone to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I think so too. And those two women in particular are really highly regarded in the women's game. They are two of the best assistants out there. So whether or not they're interested in the Tigers job, not sure. They should be if they want to build something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen this before in the NRLW. Clubs, they have to be creative on how they build their coaching staff and their programs for the women's game. And we stumbled across a job advertised when we looked at this West Tigers NRLW coaching job. We've stumbled across a job that the West Tigers are also advertising in a physical performance internship.
Yes.
What do you think of this way of going about things in the women's game? Because it's not the first time we've seen voluntary roles associated with NRLW.
I think it is, doesn't shock me. I mean, are you surprised?
Initially I was, but then when I thought about it, I guess that in this sense and in this particular instance, it's a 10 to 12 hour a week job for someone who's studying in this strength and conditioning sports science space.
Yeah.
So would it happen in men's sport? No, not a chance in hell. I wouldn't imagine. They're advertising for interns to work in their professional elite environment. But we often see there's not the same investment in the women's program.
Clubs do get creative around stuff like this. I mean, we saw, it was earlier this season, the Sharks advertised for, I think it was a qualified physiotherapist to be working 20 or so hours a week, and it was for a flat fee. I think at first it was under a volunteer role, and then they changed it and it was like a flat fee, and that flat fee would have been absolutely nothing. I didn't get that number actually confirmed with them, but it would have been, $2,000 or something like that for 8 months of work.
And that's for someone qualified. So that's a completely different level of ridiculous.
That's asking someone to have been through a 4 or 5 year university degree and completed it. And, that's a kind of different story. But what this does is highlight that there is just, these are the differences in between what you can expect from the NRL and professional environments, and what clubs invest, obviously, in their NRL teams, and what they invest in their NRLW teams.
A bit of a gap. A large gap, particularly around the coaching space. All right, well, we've highlighted it here. If there are any interns looking for some work in the West Tigers, just go to sportspeople.com.au.
Yeah.
All right, now the NRL finals, they launched this morning, which is, I mean, we only have to work in the media, in sport, to know just how much we're all invested in that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I am at Fox League, you are here at the Telegraph and at Code. That's all everyone's talking about this morning. You and I are trying to get cut through with NRLW.
Yeah.
Let's face it, it's a tough thing to do at this time of year.
It is a tough gig.
It's impossible, nearly.
Yeah.
Understandable though, right? Like the NRL's a beast, but it does open up the discussion again about why we're having our competition, our NRLW competition at this time of year, because the girls are now gearing up for their biggest time of year. And I can tell you right now, next week's not going to be any different. After week 1 of the men's finals, we're going to be just as hysterical about whatever has unfolded in week 1. So, we've been throwing around ideas yet again this morning of, is this the right time of year to host and to have the NRLW?
I think that it is, just because there is a little more exposure at this back end. I know we're talking about, the NRL finals are on and there's hardly any cut through, but you're starting to see the NRLW games will be standalone free-to-air or, on Fox League games. I think it's the right time of the year just because I like them both to play on grand final day.
Right.
I just think that because
it's just a romantic feeling.
It is, but yes.
But that's
what rugby league is.
But I would love to know why. Like, I would love to hear from the NRL. Other than it's a great event to have both on the same day. I'd love to understand the strategic view of it, because AFL have gone completely the other way now. Yeah. They've just started their women's, and their biggest games are in the postseason for the AFL. Yeah. They play right through to mid-November.
But the AFLW also doesn't have a state of origin, and the AFL doesn't either state of origin, which is so massive, as we know that is the beast, and in an international game, which is played at the end of the year.
But are we worrying about rep too much and not fostering the growth of
well, some people would argue that the international game is where the growth is,
but in the women's game it is
for the sport,
but we're not even there yet with the women, right? Like, if you want the women's international game to get to the elite level, you need to have a healthy competition. At the moment, the women's international game's a joke. Like it is. The Gillaroos and the Kiwi Ferns are the only two really, really strong teams. And if we don't continue to foster the growth of the NRLW, which we've got the games, the girls are getting more game time. But in terms of exposure and spectacle and all of those things, bigger squad sizes, all the problems that we're trying to solve at once, then no one's going to watch the international game if it's blowouts like we've seen
Yeah.
unless it's Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
That's the fact.
Yeah.
So we've talked about whether it goes at the beginning of the season, started in February, run it till May or April, then have Origin, and then have internationals.
I like that too, but I just think grand final day, having both of them play together on grand final day, it just makes that product.
But what if you had?
Incredible.
But what if you had an international game on grand final day? Or what if you had an I don't know. You could still have the girls perform on grand final day if it's about seeing women's rugby league. I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't feel like the girls are going to get any attention in the next month.
Yeah.
Despite all the great football that they've put together.
Well, here on Show and Go, give them some attention. But and I see, like, I know what you're saying. It is really difficult.
Yeah. Something that they probably won't be able to fix if they keep it. They won't be able to fix it.
Yeah.
Unless they move the schedule altogether.
All right. Well, we need to get on the phone to a couple of people.
All right. Now we're also just highlighting here that now the NRL has decided to move one of the week 2 finals games.
Yes, to a Sunday.
So this is
Sunday,
the NRL
4 p.m.
we're talking about here. And the reason why it's important is because it's affecting potentially the eyeballs that are going to be on the NRLW in week 1 of the NRLW finals.
Yeah, so still waiting for confirmation that the NRLW finals are going to be held on Sundays. They always have been. We've asked that question. I think they will be again. But potentially they could move to a Saturday.
Okay. Maybe they'll have to, though, consider it.
Well, maybe.
Or split it. Maybe they'll have to have one on Saturday and one on Sunday.
Potentially. Yeah.
I mean, just because if you have both on the Sunday and you don't want it to collide with that men's final, you'll have to have it 2 games but 12 and 2 early in the day. Or you have one game earlier on Saturday and one game earlier on Sunday.
Yeah.
Just so we've got clean air here, which is what we want for finals for the women.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying, right? Is those clashes with the NRL makes it so difficult. Like, we have just complained about this schedule all year. Players have complained about it, clubs have complained about it, everyone has complained about it. And then we just don't want to see it pop up in the final. So stay tuned. Hopefully they've found a way around it and it won't be clashing. But it's a bit of a
watch this
red
space.
flag. Yeah.
Hopefully we know by next week how they plan to model the finals after round 11. All right. A bit of market watch news around some players. We know that the Roosters stitched up Olivia Kernick last week. Another big gun staying there. The Dragons are clearly not going to be keeping halfback Raecene McGregor.
No, well, she hasn't played first grade for a couple of weeks now. So it just seems like that is a bit of a foregone conclusion there. Where she goes to next, not too sure. There are a couple of clubs who could really do with her. We spoke about the Tigers, obviously. They need someone experienced to drive them around. They really do need an experienced half or really experienced fullback that can kind of direct them around. Whether Ray wants to be that gal, I don't know. But she is someone they should be targeting there. But it just...
she wants to play one more year and wants to go to another World Cup. So doesn't sound like there's any intention for her to hang up the boots. Her and her partner, Jamie Lee Bright, play as a duo. They play together, they move around together, and they both want to play. So I guess it's a package deal, and our club has to want to have both of them, not just one of them in their team. The Raiders is another one that could probably use another, key representative style senior leader. Her and Zahara would do pretty well in the halves together. I imagine. But watch this space for Raecene McGregor to see where she lands next year. Now, the other one on everyone's minds is what will the future hold for Jessie Southwell? From our understanding, she's sitting down with her management and her family this week to look at all offers on the table. So we're told there's a few of them. Just for speculative purposes, Pam, who do you think she's looking at with her family and her management?
I think she's looking at the Knights, obviously, whether or not she wants to stay there. She's obviously looking at the Broncos, the Dragons. I wonder whether or not the Titans would be interested as well. I think there would be obviously quite a few options for her there. We know the main thing that Jessie wants is just she wants to be somewhere where she can play good footy. She wants to become a better player. that is the most important thing for her. So whether she believes that is part of an amazing squad like at the Broncos, or whether it's at a young and developing club like potentially the Dragons, that's going to be a choice that she has to make.
But that's going to be part of the pitch, right? Is that whoever's trying to get her across the line is going to have to sell to her how they can make her a better footballer.
Yeah.
It's not about, here, come to us, we'll give you a job, or, there's, that's how the Broncos have been able to get players across the line as well with jobs and stuff. But around looking at her game and what level she could get to.
She's a footy head. That's what she wants. That's what she wants. She just wants to play good footy and just be absolutely devoted to that. And, more power to her. Whatever decision she makes, I'm sure we'll be all very interested to see what she does.
But can you imagine in Newcastle going, we need to throw absolutely everything.
I hope they
to
keep the hell out of it. Like, I really do. Because she would be a massive loss to them. And I think to Newcastle fans as well, who just adore her.
Yeah. All right, Pam, we've got one regular round to go and one more spot. So to finish the podcast, who wraps up that 6th position and plays finals?
The Titans. I think they were so close against the Knights. That was a brilliant game on Sunday. So, I think they'll do enough.
Yeah, so the Eels play the Bulldogs on Friday. They can beat the Bulldogs. They'll just be praying that the Raiders can knock off the Titans, but you're tipping the Titans to get there. All right, we will know this time next week. Okay, me, I'm going to say, I don't know, I think maybe that big game on the weekend took it out of the Titans. Like, it might have taken it out of them, and that the Raiders have finished the season really strong, and they'll want to be that kind of team to spoil the finals party.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah. So you go Titans, I'll go Eels, and then we'll chat about it next week.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Pam. See you next week ahead of week 1 of the finals.
Lara.